Have you ever worried that the strategies that you're trying might stop working completely? That suddenly things would start going downhill and you couldn't stop them? You just didn't seem to be able to connect with your audience. Then let me tell you about how I found myself putting a sausage on a barbecue several decades ago. I know this is going to be taking back some of you quite a long way, but bear with me because there's a point to this story. Because this wasn't an ordinary barbecue. It was raining. In fact, if you imagine this sort of icy sleet type rain that melts into your coat when it lands on you, I'm sure you've experienced something like that. And this weather wasn't really a great surprise because it was November in Britain. And that is one of the worst months of the year here if you've ever been to the UK. But there was something weirder as well. We were standing in the middle of a dark, dense forest about 50 miles, that's about 80 kilometers away from the nearest city. There were no stars in the sky, just cloud and driving rain. And yet we weren't alone. All around us were barbecues and people marching in one direction past us down this muddy forest track to a spot a bit further down the road. About 20 minutes later, there was a flash in the sky, headlights much brighter than any on a normal road car that flashed this way and that. And it was followed a few minutes after that by a growing roar. As it got nearer, this sort of whispering sound of a turbocharger and a powerful exhaust note could be heard in the air. And then from the trees it emerged, huge plumes of light, roaring sound that was only matched by the wild roar of the crowd and the flashes of the cameras as the rain drove down. But as the World Rally Champion hurtled his 300 brake horsepower rally car just feet away from us along this gravel road that was so muddy and slippery that you could barely stand up on it. Now, those noises are just echoes in my memory now. At the time, that was one of the best events in the world in rallying. It's called the RAC Rally, but not anymore. The sport changed not long after that. The event continued and it was still really exciting, but there was nothing quite like this again. And then a couple of years ago, it was cancelled first due to COVID. And then now, because there aren't enough people who want to back it, it's been cancelled again. And at the moment, doesn't look like it's going to come back. As much as I still love that sport and actually competed in it for several years, the world has changed. The PR and marketing that led to 2 million people watching that event that year that I was there no longer works today. The audience has changed. Perceptions of motorsport have changed. And if we don't recognize that change is happening in every sector, including ours, we could go the way of that event too. Did the organizers move with the times? Well, clearly not, sadly. You can't blame them. What worked for decades no longer worked, and circumstances change. But if it's our job to keep these things going, the organizations and the events that we're promoting going, we need to be on top of these changes. You know, the great thing is, whether you're on your own or a small team, there are plenty of things you can do these days to spot these trends. I was interested to see a chat with Anton Vincent a few days ago, who's the North American president of Mars in Adweek, about the rebranding of M&Ms. Now, M&Ms are a brand that connect with younger people, in particular, the firm say. And as he said, the views of youngsters are changing fast and can be triggered in different directions very easily and very quickly. Gen Zers and millennials make a lot of decisions based on values. We know that. We've seen that in this show before. And how they feel about a brand or a product, something, of course, makes our work as communicators so important, can influence the entire fortunes of the company and the particular product. You know, I'm sure you've seen the M&M characters yourself. If not, if you're not a particular sweet eater, then they're these large circular sweets with legs and personalities with a sense of fun. If you're watching this on YouTube, by the way, you can see a picture on the side of the screen where I've got some M&Ms there. The rebrand has seen them have more variety. So, for example, the green M&Ms have changed from knee-high boots to running shoes, to sneakers, if you like. It's all about different colors, about different types of people, about diversity, and about the current way people are viewing the product in that environment, in the group of people who want to use it. The point is, they studied the market and kept in touch with it and adapted to it. Now, I know some of you work in organizations with long histories and perhaps fairly rigid guidelines on who you're trying to reach, but is your audience actually changing even now without perhaps even the organization realizing, or worse, wanting to acknowledge? Now, I don't know if you remember how I mentioned a firm called Duolingo. This is a language learning platform, and how they watch their audience in real time. When they create content, they actually look at what people are saying on social media and respond to that, rather than trying to come up with something that they think in themselves is particularly witty or clever. They use the actual content they're reading and the things that people are saying that day to drive their messaging. I mean, let's say for a moment that the idea you currently have about your target audience is wrong. Maybe it's not, but try this with me. What would you do if you found that out? What would you do if you went on some research now and you found it was completely wrong? In fact, let's actually try this with a real world case study here. Whether you're on the train or in a car or wherever you are, just use a tiny bit of your mind for a second. Just imagine this, right? Let's stick with that motoring theme because I started out with one. Imagine you're in charge of a motorcycle manufacturer. The machines you're promoting are often connected with heritage. And remember, we don't mince our words on this show. That often means aging men who dream of the golden era of motorcycling. Nothing wrong with that. It's just the demographic. The problem is these people are thinning out. So how are you going to connect what you make that had a traditional sort of image and brand, whether you chose that or not, you picked it up, and make that connect with the next generation? Would you, for example, say, think about this, you've got a heritage motorcycle brand. Would you produce a marketing campaign which showed millennials on the machines? Or would you try and design an electric bike? Or would you come up with a new brand slogan, an image for the firm like, you can be green and exciting? Well, let me tell you what Royal Enfield motorcycles did, because they fit this exact thing. They created an advert, I think it was last week, or it came out last week, or was talked about last week, which showed a group of young people, which looks a bit like a sort of fashion advert, meeting up and hanging out in a cool part of London in the UK. And they're using the motorcycles almost like scooters to get around and to meet up with people. But you can still hear the engine noise. It's a very different engine noise from that sort of sound of a little scooter. Now, did that advert work or not? I'll actually put a link to the trailer. I'd be curious what you think about this in the next newsletter to see whether you think that actually does work. To be honest, I'm not sure it does. Well, the connection is clearly made between youth and the machines in the video, and the machines are quite low profile. It's not like they're sort of going, oh, here's an engine, here's a loud noise, or here's a great design. It's very much focused on the young people. To me, it didn't really play to the coolness like a Vespa would, a Vespa scooter, which is seen as being that sort of 1960s hip thing that young people can still travel around on, and it's okay to. There wasn't anything in there particularly about the values, about the environment or social issues as well. It was very much a sort of fashion advert. Now, I'm sure they did their research. To me, I'm just taking a glance at the side. But what do you think about it? The point is, all markets are changing, and so is mine and so is yours. I did a talk about the importance of recognizing change recently. When a market grows nearly 300% in a year and people don't notice it, then you need to tell them about it. And I did that, and the need to embrace the new messaging there. So today, instead of just guessing what your market is doing when you get to work, or when you get into your office, or whenever you finish your commute, or maybe if you normally just skim through social media, why not take a deep dive? What do you see in that social media, for example, that has changed? What's the emphasis changes that you're seeing? What are people saying that is different to what they said maybe a year ago? Really look for that rather than just skimming through it. I did that this morning myself, and I can see that the number of physical conferences and events on one of the platforms that I follow is soaring again, and PRs are trying to get the word out that physical events are back on and also safe. That's a new message. And if we don't acknowledge it, our messaging, of course, is not going to work. So has your audience changed from last year? Of course it has. We know that. So why not do a deep dive today by heading onto social media at the least and seeing what you notice has changed? You might be surprised to find some new angles that you can go down. If you've been listening away and you've no idea what show, what podcast or video this is, it's the Public Relations Podcast and Newsletter. You will find the website at thepublicrelationspodcast.com. I'm emigrating. Did I tell you that? I'm moving to Australia at the beginning of September. And as well as starting a new role in my day job, it is things are a bit short on time at the moment. But fear not, I am not stopping this podcast at all during this period, but it's going to be a little bit quieter for a few weeks. There's still going to be an episode I'm planning to do every Monday, but then I plan to bounce back with a few more new changes and a new series coming up at the end of September. So If you are not subscribed yet, make sure you do that right now on your podcast app so that you don't miss that. I'll finally have some more chats with people as well. I'm recording a few of those at the moment, which are going to have to wait a few weeks to actually go out, but some of them are quite interesting. So I hope you enjoy those too. And also there's going to be the new website, if I can get this all done, as well as emigrating, with some new resources on it too. Plus, I hope I can share as much as I can publicly about my new role as well in my own day job as a brand ambassador for podcasting at WordPress.com, which of course is going to be a really interesting project. Podcasting is such a popular way of connecting direct to audiences for individuals and increasingly organizations and businesses as well. Also, it's being used a lot in internal comms too. So I'm really looking forward to getting stuck into that role, helping to promote that and develop that within the company and sharing as much as I can with you. Right, I think that is about it for now. Let me just check. There's nothing else I was going to mention to you in this show. I think beyond the fact that it is summertime, I hope you're having a wonderful summer. If you're in the Northern Hemisphere, I'm still going to be in the Southern Hemisphere, so it's all going to get changed around. Whatever you're up to, whether you're having a holiday or not, whether you're working hard, as I said in the newsletter this week as well, I hope you're having a great week and you're having a really good time. In comms, whatever aspect it is, it's got to be the best industry to work in on earth. Have an awesome week.